There's a particular kind of pain that no one warns you about. The pain that comes from betrayal, not by strangers, but by those closest to you. It's a slow, silent erosion of your trust, your dignity, your very sense of reality. And when it happens, you don't just lose a friend, a partner, or a loved one. You lose a part of yourself. The part that believed in goodness, in loyalty, in love. The part that assumed that your kindness would be returned, that your sacrifices would matter, that your presence would be valued. You stood by them, didn't you? You gave more than you received. You forgave when you should have walked away. You stayed when every fiber of your soul screamed for escape. You chose love, patience, and understanding. And in return, you were met with deception, disrespect, and abandonment. They took from you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, until there was almost nothing left. And when they had drained you dry, they discarded you like an afterthought. Have you ever sat in silence wondering how someone you cared for could so easily turn into a stranger, or worse, an enemy? Have you ever questioned your worth because someone made you feel small, invisible, disposable? These are not just casual wounds. They are deep fractures in your soul that do not heal easily. And in the aftermath, you are left not only with heartbreak, but with a haunting sense of injustice. You want to scream, to fight, to make them feel what you felt, but all you're left with is silence. And yet, within that silence lies a force more powerful than rage, more enduring than revenge, karma. Not the superficial kind that gets tossed around casually, but the kind that moves silently, unrelentingly, and with terrifying precision. The universe has a language, and that language is balanced. What is taken unjustly will be returned in kind. What is sown in cruelty will be reaped in suffering. And make no mistake, they will reap it. While you rise, step by painful step, day by lonely day, they will begin to fall, slowly at first. The cracks will form in their foundations. The same lies they used to destroy you will circle back to entangle them. The same betrayal they inflicted will visit them. And when it does, it won't be your doing. It will be the very universe they thought they had escaped. The weight of their actions will crush them, and all you have to do is rise. You see, true power is not in retaliation. It's in restraint. It's in letting go, not because you are weak, but because you know that justice is inevitable. Your focus is no longer on proving your worth to those who never valued you. Your focus is on becoming someone so strong, so resilient, so unstoppable that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. Let karma do what it does best. Rip them apart from the inside out while you build, heal, and ascend. So the question is, will you waste your energy chasing revenge? Or will you rise so high that their downfall becomes nothing but a distant echo? Will you let their betrayal define you, or will you let it refine you? The pain they gave you, will it be your prison, or will it be your catalyst? Now is the time to choose. Their betrayal was the beginning of their own end. Betrayal is not just an act, it's a declaration. It's a decision someone makes to abandon the morality that once connected them to you, to cross a line they can never uncross. When someone betrays you, they believe they are gaining power, that they are asserting control. But what they fail to recognize is that betrayal is a transaction with a cost far greater than they can comprehend. They think they're hurting you, but what they're really doing is initiating their own collapse. The universe, or whatever force you choose to call it, whether it's divine justice, natural law, or moral consequence, it responds to betrayal with precision. The moment they stabbed you in the back, they set a chain of events into motion, and those events are merciless in how they return to the sender. The energy they use to break your trust doesn't just vanish. It reverberates through their own life, slowly unraveling everything they once took for granted. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone betray a good person and walk away truly whole? There may be moments where it seems like they're flourishing, like their actions carried no consequence. But watch closely. Time reveals all. They may smile in public, but something begins to decay inside them. Their relationships become fragile, their peace disturbed, because deep down even they know they crossed a line that should never be crossed. and that crossing has consequences. There's a fundamental truth that cannot be escaped. Every betrayal is a wound they inflict on themselves. It may bleed into your life first, but the hemorrhaging begins in theirs eventually. You, the one betrayed, will heal. But them, they carry the guilt, the fear, the dread that someday, somehow, it will all come back to them. And it will. Because betrayal sets a precedent. It teaches them that disloyalty works, that cruelty can be rewarding, and so they begin to live recklessly, hurting others, spiraling, never realizing that the destruction they're sowing is their own. Imagine a tree that is beautiful and strong, yet one day someone cuts into its roots, thinking the damage is minimal, invisible. What they don't realize is that the moment the roots are damaged, decay begins. Slowly, invisibly, but inevitably, that tree will fall. Betrayal works the same way. They cut into your roots, but in doing so, they damage their own foundation, their life, their integrity, their peace. They may still appear intact, but rot has set in. And as they begin to face the fallout, relationships breaking down, trust from others eroding, the weight of their choices crushing them, they will realize too late that the moment they betrayed you, they betrayed themselves. Their end didn't begin with external forces. It began the moment they believed that hurting you would elevate them. Let them think they've won. Let them live under the illusion of victory, because the reality is they started losing the day they betrayed you. They just don't know it yet. Silence is your greatest weapon. There's a moment after betrayal when the rage is almost unbearable. You want to scream, to shout your truth from the rooftops, to expose every lie, every wound, every injustice. You feel the need to make them understand the pain they caused, to drag them into the same emotional fire they threw. That impulse is powerful and it's entirely human. But here's a truth few understand. Your silence is more powerful than any retaliation you could ever unleash. When you stay silent, it's not because you are weak, it's because you are wise. You know that speaking would give them your energy, your time, your attention. And after everything they've done, they don't deserve a single breath from you. Your silence becomes a void they can't fill, a mirror they can't escape. It forces them to sit alone with what they've done, with no feedback, no validation, no reaction. And that absence is deafening. Silence in this context is not emptiness, it's presence. It's a presence of strength, of discipline, of control. You are no longer reacting, you are observing. You are no longer playing their game. You've stepped off the board entirely. And in doing so, you have taken away the one thing they crave the most, your attention, your validation, your suffering. Because believe it or not, many who betray you want to see you crumble. They want confirmation that they still hold power over you. Your silence denies them that power. It becomes a wall they cannot climb, a fortress they cannot penetrate. It's the space where karma works best, uninterrupted, undisturbed. While they spin lies, while they try to control the narrative, you remain still, untouched by their chaos. And over time, people begin to see. They notice who speaks out of guilt and fear and who remains silent out of strength and certainty. Think of silence like a storm gathering power. On the surface, it appears calm, no noise, no movement. But beneath that stillness, forces are building. Pressure is rising. And when that storm finally breaks, it is unstoppable. Your silence is the gathering storm. And karma is the force that will strike when the time is right. There's an ancient truth that says the loudest voice is often the most desperate. Let them talk. Let them spread their stories, their justifications. The truth does not need defense. It reveals itself in time. Your silence will echo louder than their noise. And in that silence, karma listens. Imagine a courtroom where one person is ranting, pleading, blaming, and the other stands silent, unshaken. Who holds the power in that room? The one who speaks out of panic or the one who waits, knowing that truth and justice need no performance. Your silence is the testimony they cannot refute, and in your silence something else happens. You begin to heal, because you are no longer trapped in the cycle of reaction. You reclaim your energy, your focus, your peace. You stop bleeding for people who wouldn't lift a finger for you, and that is freedom. Let your silence be the sentence they can't escape. Let it haunt them, confuse them, unnerve them, because in the end, it's not your words that will bring justice. It's the weight of their own actions crashing down in the silence you left behind. The universe keeps the score. There is an order woven into the fabric of existence, a kind of moral gravity. It's unseen, often unnoticed, but it's always there, pulling actions toward their consequences. People may believe they can outrun this force, manipulate it, deceive it, but the truth is far more sobering. The universe keeps the score, and it never forgets. When you were betrayed, when your heart was broken and your trust shattered, it may have felt like injustice reigned, like cruelty won. They walked away unscathed, smiling, living their lives as if your suffering meant nothing. And in that moment you wondered, where is the justice? Where is the reckoning? How can those who inflict pain walk free while the innocent carry the burden? But justice is not always immediate. It is not loud or theatrical. It is deliberate. It is patient. It unfolds slowly like the hands of a clock, moving toward a moment of reckoning that cannot be stopped. The universe tracks every action, every intention. It does not need witnesses. It does not need confession. It sees all. And for those who have caused pain with cold hearts, who betrayed love, loyalty, and kindness for selfish gain, they have written a debt that must be paid, not by your hand, not through your anger, but through the natural consequences of their own choices. That's how the universe works. It allows people the illusion of escape, the fantasy that they are above consequence. And then it collects what is owed, often when they least expect it. Have you ever noticed how the peace they once had begins to unravel? How the success they flaunted starts to falter? It begins subtly. A failed relationship, a loss of trust from others, sleepless nights, haunted by their own conscience. These are not coincidences. They are the first signs that balance is being restored. The universe is not blind. It simply waits for the right moment to act. There is an ancient understanding that everything we do returns to us multiplied. Kindness, loyalty, love. They bring abundance, betrayal, cruelty, deception. They bring decay. The universe is not mocked. It operates with precision, ensuring that no act, good or bad, goes unnoticed or unpaid. They may pretend they're fine, they may act unbothered, but beneath that facade, something is crumbling. Let them laugh now because laughter fades. Let them gloat because ego is fragile. They are building lies on lies, and that foundation will collapse. Not because you wished it, but because that is the natural end of deception. Their downfall is not your revenge. It is the mathematical consequence of the chaos they unleashed. And when it comes, it will be thorough. It will be personal. It will be undeniable. And you do not have to chase justice. It is chasing them. You do not have to scream the truth. It will speak for itself. While they run, while they hide behind masks, while they try to maintain the illusion, the universe is calculating. It is moving the pieces. And soon, very soon, they will face the mirror they tried so hard to avoid. You may never see their punishment, but rest assured, they will live it. Every sleepless night, every lost opportunity, every relationship poisoned by their own behavior, that is the universe restoring balance. Your hands stay clean. Their fate is already sealed. Your pain will become your power. Pain has a strange way of becoming the greatest teacher you never asked for. In the moment of betrayal, when your world shattered and everything you trusted turned to dust, it felt like the end of your strength, the end of your hope, maybe even the end of your will to keep going. That pain was suffocating, wasn't it? It wrapped around your chest like chains, made your days heavy, your nights unbearable. You questioned everything, your worth, your choices, your very identity. But here's the truth that few realize in those dark moments. Pain is not where your story ends. It's where it truly begins. Because within every ounce of suffering lies the potential for transformation. Pain is not just a wound, it's a forge. And in that forge, you are being reshaped, not broken, but refined. When someone betrays you, they think they are diminishing you. They believe they are reducing your value. But what they don't understand is that pain activates something far more powerful within you: awareness. Awareness of your boundaries, awareness of your strength, awareness of your capacity to survive and evolve. Pain strips away illusions, burns away the unnecessary, and reveals who you really are when everything else is gone. And that version of you, the one who rose from the ashes, is unstoppable. Because you've already faced your worst nightmare, you've already walked through the fire. What else is there to fear? Betrayal didn't weaken you, it woke you up. It forced you to see clearly. It tore away your innocence, yes, but in its place it planted resilience. You learned that you can be abandoned and still stand, that you can be shattered and still rebuild, that your value was never in their hands, it was always in yours. Think about it. The strongest steel is forged in fire, not in comfort, not in ease, but in the heat of adversity. That's what your pain is doing. It's tempering you. Every tear you cried, it was watering the roots of a strength you didn't know you had. Every sleepless night, it was preparing you to rise while others rest. Every moment you thought you couldn't go on and yet did was proof that your spirit is indestructible. And now something extraordinary is happening. That same pain that once crushed you is now fuel. It's driving you to rise, to build, to create a life so powerful, so authentic that the ones who hurt you won't even recognize the person you've become. Not because you're seeking revenge, but because you're done being a victim. You're done living in the shadow of their actions. You are not the hurt they caused. You are the victory that comes after. They will see it. They will feel it. Not because you'll flaunt it, but because your growth will speak volumes. While they are haunted by what they did, you will be thriving, rising higher, shining brighter, moving forward. And in that contrast, karma delivers its sharpest blow, because nothing punishes the betrayer more than seeing the one they tried to break become invincible. So embrace your pain, not as a curse, but as a weapon. Let it drive you. Let it sharpen your focus, harden your resolve, deepen your wisdom. They gave you pain, but you're turning it into power. They set the fire, but you're walking out stronger. Let their conscience destroy them. There's a kind of justice far more potent than anything you could ever orchestrate. It doesn't require confrontation. It doesn't need public exposure or dramatic revenge. It operates in silence, in stillness, behind closed doors, and beneath calm exteriors. It's the human conscience, that relentless voice they cannot silence, that weight they cannot shake. And for those who have betrayed, lied, and inflicted pain upon others, their conscience becomes their executioner. In the beginning, they might appear untouched, even victorious. They might smile, laugh, post pictures, continue with life as if nothing happened. But appearances are deceiving, because no matter how they present themselves to the world, they cannot escape themselves. When the noise dies down, when the distractions fade, when they are alone with their thoughts, that is when the punishment begins. The mind is a battlefield, and for those who have done wrong, it becomes a prison. The very acts they committed, the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal, they replay in the silence of their own mind. And here's the thing about the conscience: it keeps score with brutal precision. It whispers in moments of quiet. It disturbs their sleep. It creates unease in places that once brought comfort. You don't need to confront them. Their own thoughts will. Imagine waking up every day with the knowledge that you destroyed someone who only wanted to love you, who only wanted peace, loyalty, and truth. Imagine the slow erosion of self-respect. the constant fear of being exposed, the subtle anxiety that others will one day see them for who they truly are. This is the slow, merciless decay that the conscience brings. It's not immediate. It doesn't strike all at once. Instead, it creeps in like a shadow growing longer with every passing day. They may try to outrun it, bury themselves in new relationships, distractions, addictions, material things, but nothing silences that inner voice. And as time goes on, that voice becomes louder, sharper, more insistent. Every reminder of you becomes a trigger. Every memory becomes a weight. They thought they were escaping accountability by avoiding you, but what they failed to realize is that they carry their punishment with them inside their own minds in the form of guilt, fear, and the haunting knowledge that they are the architects of their own suffering. You don't have to wish them harm. You don't have to seek retribution. Their conscience will do far worse than you ever could. And while they unravel internally, you are free. Free to heal, to rise, to build a life unburdened by their chaos. The contrast becomes undeniable. Your peace against their torment. Your progress against their stagnation. And in this, karma delivers its most elegant justice. Not with violence, but with truth. With the quiet, devastating truth that they are now at war with themselves. Let them pretend, let them perform, because deep down, they know. They know they did wrong, and that knowledge is corrosive. It will haunt them, follow them, and eventually it will consume them. Their conscience is the sentence they cannot escape. Rise in silence, let karma speak loudly. There's a quiet strength that far surpasses noise. A kind of power that doesn't demand recognition but commands respect through presence alone. After betrayal, the most tempting path is to prove yourself, to show the world that you were right, that you didn't deserve the pain, the lies, the abandonment. But here's what they never tell you. The most powerful response is not to fight for validation. It is to rise in silence and let karma speak on your behalf. Silence during your rise is not passive, it's intentional. It's the mark of someone who refuses to waste energy explaining their worth to people who already decided to overlook it. You don't need to argue. You don't need to defend your name, your decisions, or your pain. Let the noise die down. Let them talk, speculate, even mock. While they're distracted by their own narratives, you're building in silence, step by step, moment by moment. And this rise, it's not just about success or achievement. It's about reclaiming your peace, rebuilding your sense of self, discovering your own value away from the eyes of those who once diminished you. It's about walking quietly toward healing while the chaos they created slowly collapses on them. And when karma arrives, and it always does, it won't be subtle. It will speak volumes, louder than any defense you could have ever given. Here's the beauty of silence. It forces the world to watch. People begin to notice. They observe your stillness, your growth, your unshakable resolve. And as they do, they also start to see the contrast, your steady rise against the backdrop of the betrayer's slow unraveling. The contrast is undeniable, and it does what words never could. It reveals the truth without you having to utter a single sentence. Imagine a battlefield where one warrior stands calm, unmoved, while their enemy rages, thrashes, and screams. Who holds the power? The one who is desperate for control, or the one who has already claimed it within themselves? You become that calm warrior. Your silence is not surrender, it's dominance. It's the refusal to let their chaos dictate your path. As you rise, karma will begin to speak loudly, not through thunder or fire, but through the simple reality that you are thriving and they are not. Their lies will collapse under scrutiny. Their relationships will mirror the betrayal they gave to you. Their peace will be shattered by the very behaviors they used to break you. And all the while, you rise, unbothered, focused, free. They expected you to crumble. They expected you to fight for their attention, to seek closure, to beg for validation. Your silence denies them that satisfaction. It leaves them with questions they can't answer, with doubts they can't silence. It forces them to watch as you become untouchable, not because you shouted the loudest, but because you moved on while they remained stuck in the consequences of their choices. You see, your success, your healing, your peace, these are not just wins for you. They are echoes of karma ringing loudly in the ears of those who hurt you. And the louder you rise in your silence, the more deafening it becomes for them. Let them hear it. Let them feel it. Let them watch the life you create without them, a life that flourishes, not in spite of their betrayal, but because of it. The best revenge is not revenge at all. It is becoming so grounded, so self-assured, so fulfilled that nothing they did can touch you anymore. And in this space, karma does its finest work. Not through your hands, but through your unapologetic existence. You are living proof that betrayal does not break everyone. Some rise from it stronger, wiser, untouchable. So rise in silence. Build quietly, heal deeply. Let them underestimate you. Let them question your absence. Let them wonder, because karma is loud, and it will announce itself with clarity, with force, with justice. You won't have to say a word. Let your silence be their reminder. Let your growth be their regret. Let karma be your voice. And trust me, it will speak loud enough for both of you. There's something deeply unsettling about waiting for justice. When you've been wronged, betrayed, cast aside by someone you trusted, every fiber of your being cries out for balance. You want the world to see what you endured. You want the scales to tip for the pain they caused to come back around and crush them. But in this desire, in this aching for justice, we often lose sight of something crucial. Justice is not ours to chase. It is inevitable. It is woven into the very structure of reality. Every action echoes. Every choice, especially those rooted in cruelty, sends ripples through time. Those ripples may not crash back immediately, but they are always moving, always returning to their source. You don't need to watch over them, hoping their downfall arrives. You don't need to spend sleepless nights imagining their regrets or their ruin. That is not your burden to carry. Justice is coming. And it's not late. It's perfectly timed. The universe, in all its complexity, does not operate on your schedule. It operates on truth. It ensures that no betrayal goes unnoticed, no harm without consequence. But here's the challenge. Justice rarely looks how we expect it to. It's not always public. It's not always loud. Sometimes justice is internal. It's the slow collapse of their peace. It's the fear that grips them when they realize they've become everything they once despised. It's the haunting reality that you escaped and they're still trapped in the mess they created. And while that justice unfolds, your focus must shift, not toward revenge, not toward monitoring their downfall, but toward your rise. That is the only thing you can control. Your growth, your healing, your purpose. These are the battles worth fighting, not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that their betrayal did not define your worth. Because here's what most people never understand. Your rise is part of the justice. Every step you take toward a better life, every moment of peace you reclaim, every success you achieve without them, it is a blow to their ego, to their false sense of victory. They expected you to fall apart. They expected you to stay stuck. When you rise, you defy their expectations, and in that defiance, you become untouchable. Imagine standing on a mountain they thought you'd never climb. You don't have to shout. You don't have to call them out. The very fact that you're standing whole, healed, thriving is enough. That image will haunt them more than any words could. Your success is their sentence. And they will feel it every day they wake up and realize you're no longer in their world. Let them deal with their consequences. Let them wrestle with the reality they created. Your energy, your time, your focus, it belongs to your future, not to their punishment. Because the moment you stop chasing justice and start chasing growth, you win. And that victory cannot be taken from you. Justice, real justice, isn't about revenge. It's It's about restoration, restoring your peace, your power, your life. It's about becoming someone who no longer needs to look back because everything you need is ahead of you. That is the kind of justice that lasts, the kind that doesn't just punish them but elevates you. And yes, there will be moments when you wonder if they've escaped at all, if karma forgot. But listen closely, no one escapes. Not really. You may not see their suffering, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. And in the grand balance of things, they will pay, not because you demanded it, but because truth always demands it. So stop waiting for them to fall. Focus on your rise. Build your life in such a way that they no longer matter. Let your joy, your peace, your success be the loudest declaration that justice has been served. Not through vengeance, but through victory. Justice is inevitable. Your rise is inevitable. Now, step forward and let both unfold as they were always meant to. Now pause and look at everything you've endured, the betrayals, the sleepless nights, the ache in your chest that never seemed to fade. You didn't imagine that pain. You didn't deserve it. And for too long, you carried the weight of it alone, hoping someone, anyone, would see the truth and acknowledge your suffering. But today, you no longer need their validation, because now you understand something far more powerful. The universe saw everything, and it has not forgotten. Let go of the need to fight. Let go of the need to prove. You are not responsible for delivering justice. That's already in motion. What you are responsible for is your rise, the life ahead of you, the peace, the strength, the success. It's all within reach. If you stop looking back, let karma handle what you cannot. Let divine justice strike where it must. While they live in the chaos they created, you will live in the freedom you've earned. Let them fall apart. Let them be haunted by their choices. That is no longer your burden to bear. You are not who they tried to make you. You are not broken. You are not defeated. You are rising, stronger, wiser, untouchable. So walk away, not in bitterness, but in power. Walk away in silence, knowing that your life will be the loudest sound they hear. Let karma rip them apart while you rise into the life you were always meant to live. Because now it's your turn to heal, your turn to win, your turn to rise. And they can't